Well, good morning. It is Sunday, June 21st, and um, I, I am just getting ready to do this. Sorry, I lost my words for a moment. Anyway, it is Sunday morning, and this is the children's moment. I hope that you are enjoying these times that we can get together and to share in story or godly play or talk about something important. And so this month in June and some of even May, we've been talking about, really about race. So the way that we kind of see race in the world around us, right, is by the color of somebody's skin. So sometimes you see somebody like me, so I'm a little paler. I'm kind of a pink peach color, but we might say that this is a white person. And then there's, we see somebody who's a little bit darker hue skin. And so there are different ways that people present themselves so that they show we can see who they are. And some of what we've been talking about, we've been listening to stories and we've been sharing about how sometimes people will use that to talk down to people, to make them feel bad or feel less than the great value and worth that they are. And that's difficult because that's not very fair to somebody. It's not loving and it's not just. And so we've talked a little bit about how we've seen protests and marches out in the city and maybe here in Claremont or in your city. And that's kind of what the people are marching about. They are trying to get people to hear them. They're trying to get people to understand that the way that they have been treated is unfair, very unfair. And so one of the groups, the big organization of people that are marching recently have been the Black Lives Matter movement. And so they are trying to get people to say, or to learn and to hear their message that just because of the color of their skin and how they were born doesn't give anyone else the right to talk down about them. In fact, there are many wonderful things about all of us. And when we come together, that's when we really shine. So I wanted to talk to you about something else that you might see in the month of June, and especially here in the U.S. And that is that June is typically, and it is now, is Pride Month. How many of you have been seeing this all around? Kind of cool, it's a rainbow, but if you look a little closer, you can kind of see the waving. That's right, it's a rainbow flag. Now the rainbow flag that you see a lot in June, and maybe you can see it waving on some of your neighbors' houses, maybe you see it as a sticker on a car, or maybe you see it just out when you're out exploring the city, you're going shopping, or you're going to a restaurant, and you'll see this rainbow flag. And that's because in June, across the U.S., many people are celebrating Pride Month. And in this particular month, Pride is celebrating the many different kinds of people and the way that they love others. And I'm not just talking about how when, your mother loves a child, or your father loves you, or your auntie or your uncle or your grandparents love you. Maybe your best friend loves you. I'm talking about the love that two people share, and when they decide that they want to spend the rest of their lives together or build a family, maybe share a home together. There are lots of ways that people love each other. So sometimes we see two mommies, sometimes we see two daddies. In fact, my family has two daddies. See, you can see Gilbert and me, and then the three boys. And there is a special month that we call in June that we call it Pride Month. And that's because we want to make sure that all people, in the way that they decide to love one another, in the way that they know how to love one another, is a little bit easier. Because, it's difficult for some people to tell others, especially their family or their friends, that they might be lesbian or gay or bisexual. Sometimes it's even the gender. So how you present yourself or how you feel inside, sometimes deep down that you were meant to be a different gender. Maybe you can see that I'm male, but maybe there's somebody who shows as male and then they say, I really feel and really know that I am female inside. And so sometimes it's very difficult to share that with people. It was difficult for me to share that with my family. And so all month in June, we call it Pride Month so that we can help people who might be lesbian or gay or bisexual or transgender or simply not sure and still trying to figure it out so that they can be more comfortable and safer in sharing with the people whom they care about, like their families. One day I had to share with my family that I love Gilbert, that I wanted to marry Gilbert, and that I wanted to start a family with him. And so when I was starting to think about that and wonder about that, I knew that when I saw this flag, maybe it was on somebody's car or at their house, maybe it was in a window of a store or a restaurant, I knew that that was a safe place where people were going to care about me and treat me kindly when I shared with them about me. So I wonder, for you this morning and for the rest of June, and then maybe you make it a practice for the rest of your life, that when you see this on somebody's car, or when you see it on a shirt, maybe they have the colors on the shirt, you can smile and you can know that person is brave because they are telling the world who they are. And you can celebrate with them. In the Bible, we get to hear lots of things that Jesus said about how to care for different people. Lots of different kinds of people. And I think that we hear this often, but the greatest commandment was this, right? To love God and then to love your neighbor as yourself. So if you feel good about who you are and you love yourself and you are proud of yourself, share that with others. When somebody else wants to share who they are, love them as yourself. Even Paul in the Bible said at one time in the book of Galatians, right? He said, well, there's no longer Jew nor Greek. There's no longer male nor female or slave or free. Paul meant that there doesn't have to be a difference. We don't have to tell people because they are different, they can't be loved. We are all inside the love of God. We are all wrapped warm and snugly in that love of God. And so I think that as people of faith, as Christians or as churchgoers or as any other type of spiritual expression, one of the biggest things that we have in common is that we can love each other because that's what we're taught. So again, friends, when you see this, smile. Make somebody feel welcome and be proud of who you are. And remember, June is Pride Month, and we're celebrating lots of different people. So I say go and celebrate and make it colorful. All right, we'll see you soon, hopefully on our worship service at 10 a.m. right here on Facebook Live.